Right now, over 40% of six-figure employees in America are living paycheck to paycheck, and even though they make over $10 million throughout their entire career, almost all of them will retire with less than $300K in savings. There is a system that makes you spend and waste as much money as possible, even go on a spending spree when your bank account is at zero. But that system is not an evil corporation. It's actually your own brain. A few simple, harmless triggers that were supposed to keep you healthy and safe have been twisted to keep you stuck, poor, and unhappy. Just look around you, look at the state of the average person you know, and tell me I'm wrong. But you can fix it, and I'm going to show you how. You've tried the budgeting apps. You've tried the 24-hour rule before buying anything over $50. You've told yourself, more than once, that this is the last time. None of it sticks past a few weeks. And underneath the embarrassment of that, somewhere you don't say out loud, you've started to wonder if the problem is just you. If everyone else got a working brain and you didn't, it isn't you. I want that on the record before we go any further. It's 5 separate mechanisms, stacked on top of each other, running at once, and once you can actually see them, you're going to wonder how nobody ever showed you this before. Here's the part nobody in personal finance actually tells you. This doesn't start with saving or being frugal. It starts with stress. When life feels out of your control, your brain looks for the fastest available way to feel like it's regaining control. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that shopping to relieve stress was up to 40 times more effective at restoring a person's sense of control than almost anything else they tested. Not happiness. Control. That's the actual thing your brain is chasing when you click buy. And I've watched this exact pattern wreck more people than any bad investment ever could. So, you buy something small. For 10 minutes, it works. You feel like you did something. Then the bill comes, or you check your balance, and now you have one more thing to be stressed about, which means your brain goes looking for that same fast relief again. Less money, more stress, same response. That's the spiral. And it runs completely underneath your awareness because in the moment, every single purchase feels reasonable. It shows up in small forms most of the time. A $40 stop at Target that started as a $6 coffee run. A subscription you forgot to cancel because checking would mean confronting the account balance. An order placed at midnight that you don't fully remember adding to the cart. This is exactly why a survey released this month found that 78% of Americans are currently carrying serious credit card debt, and most of them describe it as manageable. It isn't. The brain recalibrates what normal feels like. The same way you stop smelling a room you've lived in for a year, you stop registering debt once you've lived inside it long enough. The discomfort that would normally make you stop disappears, not because the problem went away, but because your brain stopped flagging it as a problem. And the spiral doesn't need a dramatic trigger to start. You don't need to lose your job or go through a divorce for this to kick in. A bad commute does it. A tense email from your manager does it. A scroll through everyone else's vacation photos right before bed does it. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a real crisis and a long, grinding, ordinary kind of stress. It just registers out of control and reaches for the fastest lever available, which is almost always your card. Not a conversation with a friend or a walk outside. Not because spending is the best option, because it's the fastest one. And in that moment, fast is what your brain is optimizing for. You don't fix this with more willpower. You fix it by understanding that the purchase was never really about the thing you bought. And once you understand that, the next question is what's actually happening inside your head in the seconds between wanting something and buying it. Here's what that looks like. In 2007, a Stanford researcher named Knutson put people in an fMRI scanner and ran them through what he called the save holdings or purchase task. They saw a product, then they saw its price. Then they decided whether to buy it, using real money they'd actually keep if they didn't spend it. He wasn't asking what they thought. He was watching what their brains did before they had a chance to think anything at all. 2 things happened every single time, in 2 completely separate parts of the brain. When someone saw a product they wanted, a region called the nucleus accumbens lit up. That's the brain's anticipation center, the same one tied to desire and reward. But when the price appeared, a second region activated, the insula. That's a region associated with pain and disgust, the same one that fires when you stub your toe or smell something rotten. Here's what made the study matter. Both signals predicted on their own. whether the person would actually buy the product before they consciously decided anything. Wanting it lit one circuit. The cost of it lit a pain circuit. The purchase came down to which one won. Think of it like a car with a gas pedal and a brake. The gas pedal is wanting. The brake is the pain of paying. For most of human history, those two pedals worked together. You wanted something. You felt the cost. The brake slowed you down enough to think. Now look at what credit cards, subscriptions, and buy now, pay later apps actually do. They don't make the gas pedal more powerful. They cut the brake line. When you don't hand over physical cash, when the cost gets split into 4 payments of $40 instead of one payment of $160, your brain barely registers the insula's warning at all. The pain that used to make you hesitate gets quietly removed from the transaction, and somebody got paid to figure out exactly how to do that. This isn't a side effect. It's the business model. Over half of buy now, pay later users, 56%, say the installment structure directly encourages them to spend more than they would if they had to pay the full amount up front. The data backs them up. Purchases made through these services run 85% higher in average order value than the exact same purchase made through a normal payment method. Same person, same store, just a different brake line. I'll be honest, this is the part of researching this video that actually made me angry. Nobody stumbled into this by accident. Subscriptions cut the brake a second way by moving the pain of paying to one single day a month instead of every time you use the thing. You don't feel the cost of the streaming service while you're watching it. You feel it once, weeks later, as one line on a statement you've already half forgotten about. One-click checkout cuts it a third way by removing the moment itself. The insula needs a bead of friction to fire properly, a form to fill out, a card to physically locate, a number to type in. Stores spent the last decade systematically deleting that beat. Not because customers asked for it, because every second of friction removed measurably increases how often people buy. The pain circuit didn't get weaker, it just stopped being given enough time to switch on. So when a $20 impulse buy on a card feels like nothing, but pulling $20 out of your wallet in cash still makes you pause, that's not a personality flaw. That's two different neural circuits getting two completely different amounts of information. One of them was built by your biology, the other one got engineered out of the transaction on purpose. There's a third lever in this system, and it doesn't even wait for you to want something specific. It manufactures urgency out of nothing, and it runs through a part of your brain that's even older than the wanting circuit. There's a reason a flash sale feels more urgent than your savings goal, even though saving is obviously the smarter move. It comes down to one part of your brain, the amygdala, your threat detector. Researchers studying patients with a rare condition that damages the amygdala found something striking. Those patients stopped showing loss aversion almost entirely. For everyone else, losing something hurts roughly twice as hard as gaining the equivalent feels good. And that imbalance runs straight through the same circuit that once kept your ancestors alive when food or shelter was scarce. A deal that's about to disappear gets processed by that ancient system as a real loss right now, today. Your long-term savings goal doesn't. It's abstract. It's months away. It doesn't trigger anything. So when only 2 left goes up against, I should be saving instead, it's not a fair fight. One is wired straight into your survival instincts. The other one is a spreadsheet. This gets exploited on purpose, so deliberately that the federal government noticed. The FTC has fined companies over $245 million specifically for using fake countdown timers and fake low stock warnings, because regulators confirmed what marketers already knew. This wiring works, and somebody decided to pull it on you anyway. You're not weak for feeling that pull. You're running software that was never designed for a world with a flash sale every single day. And a flash sale is just one trigger. The real shift isn't that any single trigger got smarter. It's how many of them you're facing in a single day now, compared to a few decades ago. Picture a version of you living in the 1960s. You read the newspaper in the morning, you drive to work, maybe past one billboard. A coworker mentions a vacation he's planning. In the evening, you're in the backyard with your family, no screen in your hand. By any honest count, that person is dealing with maybe a dozen things all day that even resemble a sales pitch. Now, think about today. Count everything you've seen since you woke up that was trying to make you want something. Not just products, a lifestyle. You should be at the gym more. You should be eating this, not that. You should be taking this supplement. You shouldn't still be driving that car. Somebody's vacation, somebody's kitchen renovation, somebody's watch, all surfacing in your feed before you've even gotten out of bed. None of it announces itself as an ad. All of it is doing an ad's job, which is making you want something you didn't want 5 minutes ago. That's not a dozen a day anymore. It's closer to constant. You can judge for yourself how many that adds up to. Nobody has a clean official number, and anyone who tells you they do is probably rounding up to sound dramatic. But you don't need a precise count to feel the difference between a dozen and constant. Here's why that matters more than people think. It's not that the volume wears your willpower down like a battery running low. That idea sounds right, but doesn't actually hold up well under research. It's simpler than that, and worse. Run the actual math. Say you're genuinely good at this. A 95% success rate every single time you face a trigger. Face a dozen triggers in a day at that success rate, and you've still got roughly a 54% chance of making it through clean. Better than a coin flip. Manageable. Now face 100 triggers in a day, at the exact same 95% success rate. Your odds of getting through the entire day without a single slip drop under 1%. Same willpower, same skill, same person. The only thing that changed is how many times you had to roll the dice. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because you're being asked to win a coin flip 100 times in a row, and the house only needs you to lose once. None of this means you're destined to lose forever. It means the fight itself is rigged by sheer numbers, and no amount of discipline fixes a math problem, which is exactly why the people who actually get ahead financially aren't fighting harder. They've changed the game entirely. Here's something I've noticed in my own life. Completely outside of money, I'm cutting right now, training to be lean for summer. And the thing people usually describe on a diet, the "I want the cookie but I can't have it" fight, I genuinely don't experience it. I can look directly at a plate of cookies, at a slice of cake, and feel nothing. Not gritted teeth, not white-knuckle restraint, just indifference. It's not because I have superhuman discipline. It's because my brain wants the six-pack more than it wants the cookie. There's no fight because there's nothing left to fight. One desire is just stronger than the other, so the weaker one never fully shows up. A psychiatrist named Maxwell Maltz figured out the mechanism behind this decades ago, and it has nothing to do with discipline. He found that your self-image acts like a thermostat for your behavior. Whatever you've identified as, your brain works quietly in the background to keep you consistent with it, even when you're not paying attention. Someone who is identified as a person who's bad with money doesn't need willpower to spend. The behavior just falls out of the identity automatically. And someone who's identified as something else entirely doesn't need willpower either. The resistance just isn't required in the first place. This is why budgeting apps and 24-hour rules usually fail. They're trying to win a fight at the moment of temptation, which means you have to win that fight every single time for the rest of your life against a brain that's facing more triggers than it has ever faced before. That's the spiral from earlier. The cut-break line, the 100 triggers a day, all stacked against a strategy that depends on you personally overpowering all of it through sheer force. Every time, forever. I don't think that strategy was ever going to work. Not for you, not for anyone. The actual fix happens earlier than the moment of temptation. It happens at the identity level. If your brain has genuinely identified as someone building toward a number, an investor, someone with a growing balance instead of a growing wish list, then a new phone doesn't require resistance. It just doesn't win against the thing you actually want more. Not because you're stronger, because there's nothing left to fight. This isn't about telling yourself, "I'm an investor now," and hoping it sticks. It's closer to the opposite. It's noticing, honestly, what you currently treat as evidence of who you are, and changing the evidence, checking the account that's actually growing instead of avoiding it, tracking the number going up instead of just feeling the number going down. Small, repeated proof, the same way the old identity got built through small, repeated proof in the first place. Think about how the old identity actually got installed. Nobody sat you down and announced you are now a person who copes by spending. It got built the same boring way everything gets built, one small, repeated data point at a time. A bad day, a purchase, relief. Repeat that loop a few hundred times over a few years, and your brain has more than enough evidence to file it as who you are. The new identity gets built exactly the same way, just with a different data point repeating. Not one dramatic decision, a few hundred small ones, in the other direction. Go back through everything we just covered. The stress spiral only works because spending feels like the fastest relief available, but a stronger identity gives your brain a different fast relief to reach for instead. Watching a number you're proud of go up. The gas pedal and the cut brake line only matter if the gas pedal is pointed at something you want more than the alternative, and right now, for most people, it isn't. The flash sale only beats your savings goal because the goal is abstract and the deal is immediate, but an identity makes the goal feel like yours instead of a spreadsheet, and immediate has a much harder time beating something that finally feels personal. And the volume problem stops being a numbers game entirely because you're not resisting 100 triggers a day anymore. You're just not interested in most of them. You don't need more willpower. You need a want that's stronger than the one currently winning. Once it is, you stop fighting yourself entirely, the same way I stopped fighting the cookie. So here's what you actually know now that you didn't 20 minutes ago. The spending you couldn't explain wasn't a character flaw. It was stress looking for the fastest available relief. It was a payment system engineered specifically to disconnect the part of your brain that used to warn you. It was an ancient threat detector responding to a fake countdown timer like it was a real emergency. And it was happening dozens of times a day instead of a handful, which meant the math was never in your favor to begin with. None of that gets fixed by trying harder at the exact moment you're standing in front of the thing you want. That's the trap almost everyone gets stuck in, fighting a battle at the worst possible time to fight it. The actual fix happens earlier and quieter. It happens in what you've decided you are and what you treat as proof of it. Change that, and you stop needing the willpower you never reliably had in the first place. I'd rather hand you the actual mechanism than another tip you'll forget by Friday. You now understand something most people fighting this exact same battle never will. That's not motivation. That's an edge. Go use it.